I still remember the week leading up to the Adventure Time premiere. They were really hyping it up. In between every other commercial break, there'd be a promo for it. And even back then, I knew I was in for something special. On that night, I made sure that all of my homework and chores were done well in advance before the episode, just so I could enjoy it unbothered. This moment in time is so surreal to think about because what followed after that iconic intro played for the first time was the rest of my life.
Algebraic! Bubblegum, I can't do this anymore!
What?
Fall.
And Finn?
Yeah, what?
Did I look pretty, Fly? Ha ha ha!
You know me. I'm a funny guy.
Around the first season is when the rest of my classmates were wanting to break away from childhood. We're turning 12. What are you doing still watching cartoons? They smugly asked me. I paid them no mind, but I remember feeling weird about the whole thing because what I wanted to ask back to them was, you're only turning 12. Why are you so much in a hurry to grow up? Adventure Time went from being a silly, funny, haha cartoon to, in my opinion, one of the greatest pieces of storytelling out there. Of course, it is an animated series made for entertainment purposes first and foremost. That's really the case in the first couple of seasons where the episodes were just for fun, just pure jokes and laughter, and then it did something that was kind of novel at the time for cartoons. It's obviously happened before, but up to that point, I haven't seen anything quite like this. The show took its antics and jokes to the side to give itself a moment to be serious. In the finale of the third season, we see Finn hunched over and depressed, saddened over constantly being rejected by his crush, Princess Bubblegum. What follows is a song, and unlike all the other songs sung previously, this one isn't a fun, quirky melody being performed for the heck of it. No. This one is dreary and melancholic, as the pain of his yearning becomes too much to keep inside. I remember watching this and thinking, yeah, this is what I feel like, what I've felt before and just haven't been able to put into words. This is what unrequited love is, a sticky pit in your stomach that just won't go away. A feeling I, for better or worse, would experience quite a few times in the years following. Each and every single instance, I would remember this song. There's another episode I want to mention, specifically because it went further in shifting the tone of the show and its approach to its lore. But first, look at this shirt. And this one, and this one, and this one, and this one. You can mug people with this. Think of all the things that could be put on these pages. That's right, the first ever Lias merch drop is now live. Link down below in the description. Hope you guys like it. Back to Adventure Time and special episodes. I'm sure you all know I Remember You. An episode that fleshes out the Ice King, a childish adult who has got a few screws loose, whose only desire is to be seen as cool, and what's cooler than marrying a princess. The episode opens up with Ice King complimenting Marceline's songs, and that's when he gets the idea to ask her for help on one, thinking this would make him popular with the princesses. As he talks about the lyrics, he picks up a book that says, "Ladies are drawn to bros with tortured pasts," causing him to state that he has a way tortured past. He thinks. As this thought lingers, he becomes visibly confused and uncomfortable as his mind tries to remember what we saw a season ago in Holly Jolly Secrets 2. The weight of his past, who he once was, becomes unbearable, so he snaps out of it to continue his day. As Ice King arrives at Marceline's, there's an instant uncomfortableness about the situation.
No.
What's he doing here? She's told him not to come around her, but he insists and even invites himself in. As he pathetically tries to put his stuff together, Marceline's expression changes from annoyance to genuine concern. Finn and Jake show up to take him away, and to everyone's surprise, Marceline says he can stay.
What? Yeah, what?
They're working on a song together. So Ice King sings a cheery tune, lamenting about all the different princesses out there before the lyrics take a sudden, depressing turn. I really need someone. It is in this moment that Marceline becomes uncomfortable yet again. As he continues, Ice King spirals into his despair, crying out, begging for someone, anyone, to love him. Marceline grows increasingly annoyed, telling him to stop acting like this before having to tackle him down. Ice King, coming back to whatever senses he had, apologizes and tucks himself away. And what follows is one of the most jaw-dropping, heart-tugging scenes I've seen on Cartoon Network up to that point. It's Marceline's turn to sing, and she scolds him. He's annoying and pitiful, but she does want to help him. Here, she hints at their previously unknown history, the connection they shared. In the earlier mentioned Holly Jolly Secrets 2, Marceline is the only one that's outside in the cold when they all gather, looking in through the window at them all, looking in at Ice King. But back to her song, she sings about how she'll move around and he'll always follow her, but she's glad that he did today. Ice King is dumbfounded and asks if she likes him.
Of course I do, you old jerk.
Really? Wow. How about one of these?
Marceline's expressions change in the blink of an eye, reflecting the cocktail of emotions she's experiencing before landing on what I can best describe as solemn grief. And then he tries to kiss her. Marceline, frustrated, shuts that down immediately and berates him for not remembering anything. She calls him his actual name, Simon. How dare he show up to see her when he doesn't remember her? When he doesn't even remember himself? He laughs this off and says that he knows who he is. It's all written down in his lyrics on these papers. One of them being a newspaper picture of him before the war. Marceline points this out, and as the Ice King stands confused, she finds another picture, one that he took of her as a child. She gets upset that he scribbled on it, and he, getting to the piano, encourages her to sing the words he had written down long ago, words that he had forgotten, words meant for her. Marceline crying, Ice King still not realizing everything that's happened, but he knows that something is off. The episode ends in a destroyed city. A little girl, Marceline, is alone crying on the street. A blue man with a crown goes up to her and gives her a stuffed animal. This episode, without a doubt, broke the mold. This was the episode that made me realize this is not just a cartoon. It built upon a notion that there's more underneath the Ice King's surface, further changing how we saw him and wanting to learn more. In a process that took over 10 years, he went from being comedic relief to truly one of the most tragic characters out there. I really do think that seeing this at the age that I did altered my brain chemistry a bit. It was at a time where I was starting to really properly appreciate the media that I took in. I remember having this craving, like I just needed more. I wanted to see what connections there were here, and so I'd go online to see what other people were saying. Other people, such as myself, trying to map out these deeper character connections with what little we knew. Theories that bordered on thin strings of evidence, screenshots that were made out to be much more important than they actually were. Just trying to put the pieces together until the show graced us with additional hints of lore. By this point, Adventure Time was obviously already one of my favorite shows, and it would continue to be so for years afterwards. Here is a candid picture of, and I promise you this is true, me on my 18th birthday wearing one of my favorite shirts as I scarfed down birthday cake. Truly not a care in the world. And that's why it's so unfortunate for me to say that it was around this time I stopped keeping up with the show as much. It was my senior year of high school, and everything was just so busy during this transitional period. It wasn't until late in the following year, sometime in college, that I started watching again, catching up on what I've missed. For context on my life at the time, without turning this into a therapy session, I was kind of overwhelmed with so much that I just wanted an escape. And getting caught up with my once favorite show was not nearly enough. I had to start from the beginning. And after a few days of binge watching over 250 episodes, something clicked inside of me and it hit me for the first time that I'm actually an adult now. By the way, if you're enjoying this, please consider subscribing. It's free and a great way to support the channel. Thanks. From my binge watch, I was able to also notice something else. The show is really good at portraying a feeling that I'm a big fan of. A feeling that I remember thinking about as a child whenever my family took a car trip. The realization that everyone in all the other cars around us, they also have lives. They're headed towards a destination I will never know, with thoughts I could never guess. They've all been happy, angry, sad, proud, living complex lives filled with unique experiences. Just like me. And every now and then, when I'm out and about, I still get hit with this same feeling. This is Sonder. The show is very good at depicting this, as we get glimpses and sometimes even full episodes where we get to see what else is going on in the land of Ooh. Adventure Time is not just about Finn and Jake. It is a very interconnected world. Take Jake the Brick, for example. When Jake becomes a brick, he narrates over the radio what he sees, and although the events he bears witness to are largely inconsequential, it's still captivating nonetheless. Not just for the characters, but also for us, the viewers, because we peer into the lives of others who are listening in on this broadcast. Some caught in the middle of their activities, others focused in on the radio. This is one of my favorite episodes of all of television for a reason. With all the action and joking a regular episode has, it's a really nice, calmer break. This episode could not have worked nearly as well as it did had it been a part of the first or second season. No, it was only after 6 seasons, after 4 years with these characters, that moments like these are earned. There are primarily 2 types of shows out there, episodic and serialized. An episodic show like SpongeBob SquarePants, for example, has stories that are contained within that same episode. There is a clear beginning, middle, and end within its runtime. And when the next episode is played, the slate is cleared and the process starts all over again. A serialized show, like Breaking Bad, has an overarching story that is extended with each episode. If you're a completely new viewer, unlike with SpongeBob, you can't just drop in on the middle of Season 3, Episode 3, and expect to properly appreciate the events that unfold. Adventure Time, however, takes an approach that blends both of these types of stories. Anyone can watch Season 3, Episode 3 and have a good time. But if you've been watching from the beginning, you have a more profound understanding of what's going on, especially since the show sprinkles in its underlying plot throughout different episodes, and sometimes even has multiple episodes that take place after one another. This means that time progresses in this story. And of course, with the march of time comes the ever inevitable end.
Come along with me, and the butterflies and bees.
September 3rd, 2018. After about half a year since the previous episode, after a bombardment of nostalgia-ridden promos celebrating the show's run, the 44-minute finale aired, and I remember this feeling of enjoying it, but at the same time, there was a pit in my stomach that grew and grew with each scene change because I knew that it was almost over. And then it was. Tears rolled down my face as the outro song, Come Along With Me, played for the final time as we got our last glimpses of the characters we've grown to love, and then that was it. Adventure Time was over. 2018 was not a great year for me, to say the least. A lot of character development was happening to me around that time, and this show was a lifeline, so the finale was incredibly bittersweet. I'm glad it ended the way that it did, that it told the story it wanted, but I, like an addict, just wanted more. I rewatched the show again, but the frequency of my rewatch shortened over time because a part of me knew I was clinging too much to this. I was already a shut-in, and this wasn't helping. Not as much as it once did. So I left it behind, and over the following year, used the lessons I learned from the show to actually improve my life. I reached out to old friends, got a job, I got a pet, and then another. I jogged outside, I started dating again, and I even quit that same job to focus on my passions while looking for something else that was much more to my liking. And I was actually getting close to that. I even had plans to save up and move out of my parents' place, and then over a year after the finale, it was revealed that the Adventure Time story was not complete. Distant Lands, a 4-episode miniseries, was announced for 2020, and to me, it felt like it was a cosmic reward for putting my life together. Everything was going to work out. All the pieces that I needed were falling into place, and now I had this to look forward to. Going into the new year, I felt ecstatically energized. Absolutely nothing was going to stop me. Yeah, at least I still got the Distant Land specials, one of which, Obsidian, released right after a breakup, so that was fun considering the episode's themes, especially with the song Monster, an incredibly vulnerable ballad of self-consciousness and overcoming the discomfort of being affectionately perceived. Adventure Time has, once again, found a way to hit me when I could most feel it. Real quick, I'd like to really give the show its flowers for all of its music. The melancholic tunes, of course, are great, but so are the fun, quirky melodies. And when it goes all out for the music, dude, don't even get me started on the musical masterpiece that is Food Chain. I'm always a sucker for when a cartoon has an absolute jam out of nowhere. But I could safely say that Adventure Time's tracklist is by far my favorite. I even have the music box set. If you haven't already, I highly recommend you listen to the soundtrack and just experience the whole show through just its music alone. It really offers up a deeper sense of appreciation when it's isolated like this. But back to depression. As I matured, I went from singing "Oh Fiona, thinking of someone special" to "All Gummed Up Inside" to "Everything Stays," and now to this song. And it wouldn't be the last time, considering that "Everything in You" was waiting for me just a few years away. Fionna Cake is a very interesting show when you remember that this concept started out as alternate universe stories the Ice King would tell, and yet they made it still work within the world of Adventure Time. It was canonized in a way that let it stand on its own, while at the same time being connected to the greater Adventure Time story we all know, even expanding upon the show's ending with its focus on Simon and Betty's relationship. Not to mention how this series is kind of not a kid's show anymore. And that makes sense. Its core audience grew up. There's blood, suggestive imagery, and
She sounds badass.
It looks gnarly as hell.
Holy crap.
I really wish this specifically would have been allowed in the main series. Let me know down in the comments which iconic Adventure Timeline would have benefited with a curse word in there. But back to Fionna Cake. I started on this video because while I was watching season 2, I realized how I'm still watching new episodes of the Adventure Time story at age 27 when I first started as a 12-year-old. Adventure Time has, for the most part, been a constant in over half of my life now, and even when this season ends, there will still be new content from this franchise for us, considering that there's going to be an Adventure Time movie, which I think is likely to still keep the more mature stylings of Fionna Cake. And on top of that, for the next generation of Adventure Time fans, aside from also having the original series when they're older, they'll be getting Heyo Bimo, a preschool spin-off, and Adventure Time side quests, showcasing stories from Finn and Jake's younger days, which is speculated to be more along the lines of Season 1 Adventure Time. Just fun, low-stake escapades. And that makes me really happy that this show could feed both groups, the season fans and those who have no idea what they're going to get into. It really is hard to think of a reality that has no Adventure Time, where it conclusively ended way back in 2018. It's even harder to think of a reality where all of this never happened, and it's scary how close we were to that.
Wanna hear a funny joke? Knock knock. Who's there?
This is the Adventure Time pilot that was originally shown on Nicktoons in 2007. Despite it being less than 7 minutes long and the characters behaving a little differently than how we've gotten to know them, the fundamentals of a classic Adventure Time episode are very much present. So imagine if this would have been all we had gotten from the show. Nickelodeon refused to pick up the series. They even had multiple chances. It was pitched to 5 different groups of the top Nick execs, and every time it would get rejected. To put it simply, it was too weird. This could have been the end right here. Adventure Time's debut crushed before it had the chance to properly introduce itself. This, of course, is not what happened, as the series would get adopted by Cartoon Network, and thank Glob for that, because I don't want to imagine where I'd be if I hadn't grown up alongside this cartoon. So all I have to say left is thank you. Thank you to Pendleton Ward for creating the series. Thank you to Fred Seibert of Frederator for trying to pitch it to Nickelodeon and still fighting for it afterwards. Thank you to Cartoon Network for picking it up. Thank you to the phenomenal voice actors, writers, illustrators, animators, absolutely everyone that has been involved in the process for bringing these characters and their stories to life. I'm speaking from a viewer's perspective, so I can't imagine what it would have been like to see it from the other side, to actually contribute towards it and let those creative passions out. This series meant a lot to these people as well. A touching moment I remember is at Comic-Con 2018, when Rebecca Sugar performed Time Adventure, the song that played at the end of the series. As she sang, the rest of the cast on stage were trying their best to keep it together. At this point, they likely didn't know about Distant Lands, as production for it wouldn't have started until the following year, so to them, this performance was a reminder that this adventure really was over. I'm really glad that at the time of this video being made, we'll be able to have just a little bit more of this universe, but that won't always be the case. Adventure Time will end for good one day, but at least we have so many shared memories with these characters, and I'm eager to hear about your experiences with the show down in the comments. And while you're down there, a reminder that the first ever Leas merch drop is live now, a great way to get some cool stuff while also supporting the channel. Thank you so much for watching.